I'm Sari Kimball, and I've done just about everything in the food industry. I have helped hundreds of packaged food business entrepreneurs, and now I want to help you make your delicious dream a reality. Whether you want to be successful at farmers markets, online, or wholesale onto store shelves, food business success is your secret ingredient. I will show you how to avoid an expensive hobby and instead run a profitable food business. Now let's jump in. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh, this one is so special to me, and I just love interviewing my clients and people who have finally launched their dream and sharing their story and the journey of what it took to get to this point. The journey continues, of course. I'm going to tell you that Ryan was such a good sport. Our interview was scheduled for the day that they decided to deliver my fridge, which some of you guys know from previous podcasts that it was going and finally went. And so I was very excited to get a new fridge, but it was very bad timing. And he was a great sport where we had to pause at times. And I think I got the most of it out. There might be a little bit of background noise as the guys were trying to remove the doors and squeeze it back in there. And ultimately it didn't fit right away. And then I had to go and remove the baseboards. I did a whole story on it, which was so funny. It was actually a very good metaphor for entrepreneurship as well. And a quick reminder that the Create More Time Bootcamp is coming up very shortly in June, and you have one more week to get yourself inside food business success to get access to our live calls weekly. We're going to have 4 calls, and you'll hear Ryan talk about his experience inside the group, inside food business success. So if you want to get all of the group access, all of the video modules, tools, and access to the Create More Time Bootcamp, this is the time to get inside food business success. All right, on with my interview with Ryan Hussey of Pup The Pepper. He started his business. I was actually looking back at our calendar. We started talking in July 2020. We had a phone call, and then we picked back up in spring of 2021. And here we are in spring of 2022. And now we're welcoming you to the podcast. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about your journey from the time, because it was fun. I was like, oh, okay, summer 2020, things were a little going on, right? But like, what was going on kind of before you made that call with me, and then it took you, another 9 months to pull the trigger. So share a little bit about that journey at the very beginning.
Sure, absolutely. So, cooking and food has always been something extremely important in my life. Love to share it. Love to, create new things, have dinner parties with friends, and then been doing that for quite a few years. And I've always wanted to do something. I knew that I wanted to do something in the food area, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So, I think it took quite a few years of thinking, what I really loved, what really sounded, exciting, what my passion was for it. And something that I've always loved were sauces and condiments. So, throughout my cooking years, I would experiment with different recipes and have my friends and family and other people try it. And, it just got to the point where I was like, hey, maybe I could possibly get into this or, start selling it. My background, I have started another business way back in the day. So I think I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I started a multimedia company, just a long time ago. So I've always held that. I've always enjoyed working for myself, being able to create things that other people can enjoy, share that experience with everyone else. So, I think leading up to where I was in my professional career, I was thinking that maybe it was time to take a pause and try, going for something that I was extremely passionate about with the food. So, like you had indicated, we had spoken in 2020, and I had been searching for a while because I wasn't sure exactly how to make that initial leap. I had been doing a lot of reading online and, watching a bunch of videos and, happened to find you. As I was watching, your videos, with all the others that I had seen, I had really liked what I'd heard. So I definitely wanted to contact you and talk to you about, what's next. So I think with our initial call, you and I had a very frank discussion about what it takes. And I don't think, obviously it took 9 months after that, but I wasn't ready at that time. I think,
Yeah.
it entails a lot. And I just was, in my career pretty deep. So I was like, well, how can I do this? In the next year or two, how can I set myself up for success? So I think, you and I had spoken a few times or a couple times, and you were like, you need to do it when you're ready. So it took me a
I
little
never
while.
want to push people into this.
No.
This is too hard of a business, and it's going to have too many challenges to be like, if you're not ready, you're not ready. So I love that we had that. I like to say,
absolutely.
I would rather be honest with people and, hopefully not kill their dream, but at least be realistic so that you can come back ready.
Absolutely. And I think that it was extremely beneficial and helpful to kind of shape where I needed to be in order to, go after what I wanted to see in my business. So I think that was a great way to kind of push myself to say, okay, if I want to do A, B, and C, I need to get all of this in line. For me to either pause my career or see if I can do it, in conjunction with what I was doing previously. So I took that time to really figure out what it was going to entail and what it meant to me and what passion that I had and how that was going to move forward. So
that why is so important.
Yeah.
People, you got to have a strong why, as we will talk about a little bit later, right? That the why will carry you through some of the challenges that you experience. So you circle back and if you don't, hopefully you don't mind me sharing that you were a professional recruiter. So you had a real job and you were doing your career and all of that, but you did something kind of unusual where I love this, that you said, I'm going to save up and I'm going to do my business full time. What was that like for you? Because a lot of people I work with kind of do this as a side hustle. And then they're working towards leaving their job, but you did it the other way around. So what was that decision like? And how did that go?
I'm not going to lie. It was a little terrifying.
If you were terrified, I would be a little bit worried. I'd be like, psychopath.
So, I saved, I figured out with our discussions and kind of the cost analysis of everything, trying to figure out what it was going to take, how I was going to, pay bills and do all that stuff. And I just made that conscious effort to make sure that, I was able to save enough that I could pause my career for the time being and kind of see where that got me. So, it was not, going from health insurance and a paycheck to neither, is like I said, it was quite scary, but I think the passion that led me to do that, it was strong enough that I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my mind to it and go for it. So, I look forward to hopefully a fruitful business. But I always can, fall back or go back to other things as well. If necessary, that's what I choose.
I mean, worst case scenario, you go back, become a recruiter again, or do something else. Right. I think sometimes we fail to look at the worst case scenario is what I'm doing already right now, but you got prepared, which I love that you spent that time getting prepared mentally and, financially and emotionally, all of those things. I'm sure. I know you've been a long time listener of the podcast. So hopefully some of those episodes of mindset have helped along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that was the big thing. With our initial call, there's just so much to think about before embarking on a journey like this. So, yeah.
Really, it's courage, right? you all should be afraid of starting something new. It's a new thing, right? If you're going to start anything new, and especially entrepreneurship, and it can feel risky and scary, but this is really like where courage comes in. And so you dug deep and found your courage and you went all in. And so you decided to, it looks like we started back again. We started talking in like April of 2021. And then you decided to work with me one-on-one to go through the process.
Yeah.
And so we worked, we did your branding with Christopher, which is amazing. Maybe just tell us, I guess I didn't really cover that in the opening, but what exactly do you make? And tell us a little bit about the brand and where you were going with that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. So we are a hot sauce company. Started about a little over a year ago. While I was trying to think of kind of a concept, part of my, when I'm out in my career and at work and everything, one of my big things is always trying to give back in some way, whether that's volunteering at soup kitchens, whether that's, cooking meals for friends. It's sharing the experience, being a good steward of your community, trying to help those in need. We have a love for animals. We have a lot of friends with animals. So as I was trying to come up with a concept, we got a COVID puppy. So we got a puppy during the COVID. Her name is Eleanor. She's a corgi.
And if anybody knows me, I have a huge thing for corgis. So I just fell in love with you and the project immediately because Eleanor was involved.
Yes. So she is a very big part of our company. She is so... I was thinking about it and I'm like, wow, we could really do something giving back to the animal community. So Pup the Pepper was formed, kind of play on words there, just kind of fun. And then kind of our core mission is giving back to animal charities and rescues. Right now we're starting local. So we're partnering with a couple different ones. One for the month of May. As we sell, we'll give a portion of all our proceeds to the different charities and rescues. So we offer 3 hot sauces, 3 different flavors. My goal was to make the hot sauce more approachable. I like vinegar. It's not my favorite as kind of the front note of anything. So I wanted to be a little less vinegary. I wanted the heat to be approachable. I still wanted it to be spicy. I myself am a heat seeker. So I do love the, burning my mouth, but I know that a lot of people are not quite as fond when they have the hot sauce. So I had been working on recipes for quite a few years and I came up with 3. I kind of friend sourced, crowdsourced, did some testing. I think I sent you probably like 20 samples.
And my favorite's the Papa Peach, the habanero Papa.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's probably one of the most unique ones.
The best on shrimp tacos.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So you have your 3 flavors and I know you have plans for future products.
Yeah.
I love that you have that mission of giving back. And I think that that's really important, especially when it's like, how do you distinguish yourself? There's a million hot sauces out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some ways that you've been able to distinguish yourself is the flavors, right? Like they are really approachable. The Papa Peach is kind of interesting, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, what's that? It's not just like another mango, another mango hot sauce. Right. The Eleanor's everything is so wonderful, right? On like just a nice red sauce. But then you also have like the branding really, I think, sets you apart. Do you get a lot of compliments on the logo and the branding?
We do actually. I think it ties in really well with our. It was pretty spot on with what we were looking for. So, I think there's really good reception. I think tying in Eleanor's ears, her profile with the stickers and everything, really kind of seals the deal with the branding. So. Yeah.
So good.
And it's very vibrant. So a lot of people have commented that, it catches your eye on the shelf, or it's not really kind of a boring color scheme or whatever. So it's a really nice
We also chose different packaging too, which
Yes.
that was really intentional. And we went through, it's like, okay, we could do the 5-ounce Woozy, but that everybody does. But yeah, why did you want to do a different kind of packaging?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to stand out, be a little different from what everyone else is doing. Most, like you said, the 5-ounce Woozy. I tried so many different bottles and sizes, shapes. Caps caps was another story. So but I think
so many caps.
so many different caps. But I think just the shape of the bottle, the look of it was unique to me. We went ahead and went with PET plastic, fully recyclable. It's much lighter for shipping, which definitely helps. So that was something that I was thinking about as well while I was selecting the bottles. But it's been interesting to kind of.
Well, and we had a lot of work with that because, we have it's a acidified food. And so it needs to get up to a certain temperature. Yeah. And so we've had to do, it's great to change up packaging, but it did make it more challenging. And we had to, research, like some bottles are thinner than others and pouring hot water into it, and does it shrink and melt at all? And I mean, ultimately, I think having somebody like myself to work with through those challenges, I mean, I'm not asking you to like toot my own horn here, but like, how was that? I mean, do you think you could have gotten through those obstacles?
It's taken a long time, I think, with the support, being able to be like, hey, this bottle just kind of is loppy, or like just like in the hot water. And I mean, I don't know how many we tried. We probably tried like 24 different bottles, I'm sure. But that process, along with the others, just having you there to kind of be like, well, hey, what if we talk about this and look at this? Because I didn't know that with the process authority and all that, which you might speak about, like you have to fill it at a certain temperature. So I was like, when I was filling at home, I would get it up to boil and then I would let it cool, which obviously now I know you can't do that. So.
Oh, wait, that's not how it works.
Not how it works. So I wasn't selling at that point, so that's good. But yeah, so it's just all these tiny, minute details that you just don't think about. And you continue to learn as you move forward. I mean, every day has been a learning experience.
There's big enough surprises when you go to manufacturing without like trying, we did a lot to mitigate, but then there were still surprises, right?
Yep.
So, so you wanted to go directly into co-packing, and a lot of that was, I think, based on the product type, right? I mean, hot sauces, shelf stable, lasts a long time. There is that process authority piece and like the better process school that you would need to get as an acidified food. So as we weighed both options and kind of said, well, you have the expense of the kitchen and your time and the licensing and the certification. So it made sense to go the co-packing route. It's always good to, I think, the best thing of working with somebody is just like that you can brainstorm and talk about like get both sides and pros and cons and help make good decisions with all of that information. So we got everything ready for we got the jar, the bottles, we got the branding, the labels done. And then we went to manufacturing. So you just want to tell us a little bit about what your experience was and
Sure. Yeah, no. And I think just real quick, like deciding to do the co-packing route, I love being in the kitchen and I love creating and I love doing that. I felt like after you and I had discussed it, weighing the pros and cons, figured that, this would probably be the best way to get the product out to consumers quicker in a way that could be scaled faster. Seeing, how many bottles that we initially ran, it was, even for a batch, for me, it was fairly large. So, but yeah, no, the process, I think, once we, decided on a co-packer, I know that you had worked with a few in your area, and that's kind of the route we went. So it's interesting because, you have to scale the recipe, which is something that is not
Nobody believes me.
It's not just duplicate or like doubling the recipe. There's a little more into it than that.
Because how many gallons did we run with Carlos?
We ran 50 per sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about 800 bottles per sauce that we ran.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. So once I was glad that I could come out there and be a part of the process and see how it works, meet with Carlos and meet with the co-packer. So yeah, I think, again, like there's so many little things like the labeling, like we decided to put little stickers on top of the bottles, which, you and I sat there and did stickers on the bottles while they made the sauce. So, there's so many little things that you don't think about necessarily as you're going into it, or, how it's going to happen. To me, I was like, oh my God, we're running this huge batch. What if it doesn't taste like what I, wanted? So there was a little hesitation, or I was a little worried,
nervous,
but, I think, once we got in there and I could smell the sauce and then we tasted it, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And, we had everything assembled and ready to go. I think, my gosh, it's just like having everything. Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And then, again, there's so many surprises, like it never fails, right? That when we do a run, whether it's a trial or a full batch run, because we didn't even do a trial with you. And part of that was, that we were working with somebody who does hot sauces all the time. Your recipes were fairly straightforward, right?
Yeah.
We weren't baking or doing some of those other things. So, and he has an amazing team. So yeah, we did a lot to mitigate the surprises, but you had to get all the ingredients there, all the packaging there. And then even still, right, because the bottles that you use have like an induction layer on them. Yeah. And so Carlos didn't have the right machinery and it wasn't working. And so we ended up having to, hand sticker all the caps and then check every bottle and run those caps separately, after it was all done through an induction machine. So good times, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like with the bottle choice, we went back and forth on seals, different types of seals. So it kind of just, everything comes together. And I think, even if it's not the perfect solution at the time, it's not like we ran 500,000 bottles in our stuff. Right. Like we can always.
And you just ran how much did you run? When was that? November?
November 19th is when we launched.
Okay. So you came out in November of 21 and then, can you hear that? Is it?
I know.
This is life.
It'll be fun, right?
Remember that fridge I talked about in that podcast? Well, it's here. It's getting installed. Anyway, so we launched November, and then tell us about, before we'll get into the next round of run, but tell us about the reception and how did you launch? What was some of the strategies you did?
Yeah. So I think, so prior to the first run, I know that we had some really big issues with supply chain. So it kind of pushed our run date out quite a bit because we kept waiting. So along the lines of pivoting, we kind of decided that we would move towards a different cap. So we finally got everything assembled and it was run, and we launched November 19th is when we.
And I also want to throw in there that expect your co-packer to cancel at least once, because I think I had to make that terrible phone call to you because Carlos's team had been exposed to COVID, and it was when the protocols that they had to shut down and get everybody tested, and I was like, no. So again, anybody going into co-packing, just be flexible. And roll with it. But
absolutely,
we finally did get into production.
We did. So. The reception was absolutely fantastic. I think, in all honesty, our launch, the pushback, almost helped because it was around the holidays. So we had a lot more orders for like office gifts, things like that. Gifts in general. So I think it actually was a blessing in disguise that we kind of had to push it, out a little further. So we had really good sales, and this is basically all online until I started approaching retail shops here and local in Indianapolis. So no, I feel like, things went really well to start. There's always that first initial push of sales, which is great. And then you
right. Friends and family are
Yes.
amazing. And I'm sure you emailed everybody.
Oh yeah.
And you had been working on your social media to that point, just kind of getting out there. And
Yep.
You got to use what you got, and you got the cutest corgi
Right.
puppy. So shameless.
We do have a good.
And she does have her own Instagram account, by the way.
She does. We are those people.
Eleanor was selling the sauce prior.
Yes. So no, I mean, it's when you launch, I think, it was that initial like, oh, this is so awesome. Here we go. And to now, there are just so many avenues that you can try to go for. And I think one of the things that you really kind of hammered and was perfect was don't grow too fast. Like, make sure you have the time and the product. If you want to accelerate your growth, like, make sure you're strategic in your growth and how you want to do it versus just go out there and try and sell it to everybody. Because it sounds like, ooh, I could sell all this stuff and make a ton of money. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the product to sell, then those places could be like, meh, never mind. Like, we're not going to do.
Yeah. It's always a balance trying to find that right growth strategy. And you had a great reception online. And of course it did what most, you have that initial like super launch with friends and family and then you have a decline. And so, riding that wave for a little bit, but then having the strategy of like, okay, now you're going to get out and start talking to some stores, but not too big of stores. Right. And kind of being very strategic about it. So you don't overcommit, which is good, because then we had like some delays with getting the next round of product done. So I guess just, really quick touch on like your retail experience and where you're at there.
Yeah. And honestly, I have zero retail experience. I'm excited about my product, and there are certain stores here locally and I want to expand more, but word of mouth is fantastic. Knowing people that know people in the industry, has helped a little bit. And to really get our name out there and into some of these stores. So it's awesome. But I think having the courage just to go into some of these places and be like, hey, I'm new and I have this product. Would you be interested in selling it? And so, we're in 9 retail locations, and not just Indiana, we're in California and one as well. And that's something we're really looking into, is getting or expanding a lot more into the wholesale market. But I've learned a lot since my initial walk into a store. Like, do you want us to have my product on your
just
shelf?
have to do it. Like, I wish that I could, and we role played a little bit and went through all of that, but until you just get in there and do it, you just
I've had,
it's like anything else.
A few people never respond, it's fine. And I've had, I had one larger grocery actually order on the spot. And I was like, oh, okay, this is awesome. This is really cool.
Right. Cause you got into Safeway, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the local Safeway. It's not over, the entire chain. Yeah. That would be awesome. But still, like, felt good.
Somewhere.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're in some awesome butcher shops and meat. Like, it's some great retail here in the city. So it's been good. It's just like, how do we expand that? And I think now now that I have had the next run of sauce at a lot higher volume, I feel more comfortable approaching some of these larger online markets and, potentially some
You
of
have
the
the
bigger stores.
inventory now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, really what we need to remember as entrepreneurs is like, we need results, which could be a W or it could be an L, but get the win or get the loss, but you got to take action. And that's, I think, something that you're doing, even when you're scared, even when it's like uncomfortable, but you just got to keep taking action. You're approaching people, you're reaching out, and you're not just like passively sitting back, like the more action, massive action you can take, gets you results. And that's how we learn. That's how you get better, right? That's how you grow your business. And we just need more wins and losses. So you are a great model of somebody out there doing it. Same with social media, right? Like you're kind of like, all right, I'm just going to keep trying this reel. And, when we were in Las Vegas for fancy food,
awesome.
You'd like bring your hot sauce everywhere you go. And it's like, where's Pup the Pepper now? Like now it's in the showgirl's hands on Vegas Strip. Like, I love it. And some people are so uncomfortable asking for that. And I get it, but it just takes a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error, and just, again, feel the fear and then do it anyway. And maybe you don't need to start with a Las Vegas showgirl, but like nobody cares, right? Like, okay, you're stopping traffic for a minute so you can get a shot with, in front of the Bellagio fountain. But like, who cares what people think? No. Like, they're not the ones funding your business. Or
and it's not like it's causing any issues or anything. And I think even me, I guess if you want to call it stage fright or whatnot. I mean, I still I've performed on stage. I've done things like crazy, but I still get that nervous feeling. And it's like, it's because it's of the unknown, whether it's going to be yes or no, or but I think just finding the courage, or just knowing that regardless of whatever the outcome is, there's going to be a solution for whatever, there's going to be a positive solution generally to whatever the outcome is. So I think I've just found that, the worst that could happen is they're going to say no, or that's really it. I mean, I don't think there's any like violence and
worst case scenario, they say no, right? Like, okay, you're no worse off than you were. Then you were doing amazing. You're getting into some stores. You have the online going. You're starting to do farmers markets, right? You're signed up for some summer markets. So then we were running out of product. Like, okay. Now, like, it's a good problem to have. But you needed to get some more product. So what do you think the moral is that you've learned about entrepreneurship and through all of this ups and downs?
Oh my gosh. Be prepared to roll with what comes at you, whether it's good or bad. Just you don't necessarily have to have a plan. Try to. And I think, again, like having the guidance and knowledge of what could happen it was so important, because it's like, oh, our caps are stuck in the ocean. What do we do? Or
oh, that's right.
The bottles that I was just going to order just went out of stock. Now what do we do? So like, I'm on my third bottle. They're very similar, but they're different. So I mean, they're different just by millimeters, but still, I mean, I had to wait and they had to source bottles for me. So it's really, you can run into production issues. There could be, like you said, there could be a like health reason or whatever reason comes up. Really, just make sure, try to have a plan if possible, but know that if you don't, that there are always workarounds. And, I was worried that it was going to take like, when some of the issues, occurred, I was worried that it would take months before I could get my next fill to happen. So, I was fortunate enough to have a backup that I could contact. So I think having like some sort of like plan for what could happen and kind of just know that it's going to be okay. Like, you are going to be okay. And I think, not everything can be 100% correct all the time. You're going to have to make adjustments and changes. And I think that's with really any industry, right? Like, you can't,
Right.
it's
Right.
It's all chaos. It's so,
it is.
yeah.
And that's what we do as humans. It's like there's chaos and we adjust and so much of it. And I think overall, you've done a really good job of rolling with it, being resilient, just, saying, okay, like, and you've had some big disappointments for sure.
Absolutely. And I think in not making rash decisions, like you just like taking a deep breath, stepping back, saying, okay, I get it. I'm super angry right now, but that's not going to solve any problems. What can we do to step forward and create the solution? So, and it's hard. It's not easy, especially when you're passionate and you want your stuff done and you want to get your product out. You're like, hey, that's not cool. Like, what do we do?
Yeah.
So,
we've had some big downs and then some huge highs, right?
Absolutely.
You were on TV with Eleanor and Philip, and you guys, had a little TV appearance. You got on the end cap of Safeway or in the stores. You got the markets. Like, there's a lot of good things happening for you, and I know that you are in them. It's like you probably envisioned yourself here and being like when you started. Let's just say you started back in May. When we started together, I'm sure you probably had a vision of yourself. Like, by this point, I'll be happy. Like, things will be amazing in my business and I'll just feel awesome all the time. And like, that is the craziest idea, but we have it, right? Yeah. When I'm making X amount of money or when I have the product or when I'm on a store shelf or, we're always thinking about the next thing. Like when this happens, I will feel better.
Right.
And I guess I was just really, if I can have any words of wisdom here, is like, how can you detach? Like, first of all, enjoy the journey. And I think that you've done that really well.
Oh yeah.
So enjoying the journey and then detaching your happiness from the business and seeing it as like, this is an adventure and we're going on this ride and like every business is going to have 10 problems and the bigger you get, the bigger the problems get. Right.
Yeah.
So we just have to be really good at solving problems. And like you said, you can schedule time to be angry and pissed about something, but like in the moment, we have to be able to like manage our emotions and say, okay, I got a problem solve here and not just
And I think that comes from the very beginning of our journey is like, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. And if it's something you think you're going to burn out on, or if it's something that you don't think you can see yourself, it's a really, it is a major life decision. This is not something that's like, oh, I'm going to make some sauce and throw it on a shelf. Like, it's a little more involved.
Yeah. This is your career. This is your work. And I love that you're working on calling yourself a CEO and stepping into that role. Right. You're not just like, I'm starting a hobby business. Like, this is your work and this is your career. Can you talk a little bit about, because I love this part about you that even though you worked with me one-on-one, all of my one-on-one clients get access to Food Business Success and our community inside. And I love that you have you embraced that and you really went all in. You didn't have to become a part of the community. You could have just relied on me, but can you talk a little bit about what the value of that community has been for you?
Yeah. And it's just, I think community in general is so huge. You learn so much from a community, right? Like, and especially if it's at your disposal, like you have the resources and the, especially within food business, the people that have launched and been doing it for years who are like literally like don't even have a product yet, but like are like, oh, I want to do this. And I for me, like you said, being all in, but I don't think you necessarily have to like, quit your job and then
no, it's an attitude of all in.
Absolutely. Yeah. All in is definitely a mindset and attitude. And I think knowing the value of what you can get, especially from the group that you've cultivated. I've met some absolutely amazing people. And I think this industry is, especially where you have it, like with all of your clients and everything, they're so willing to help one another.
Yeah.
And if they don't know, or if you don't know, or if, if something is, we look for it, or we try to, help each other out, which is, it's a great feeling. So why not, we have our friends as a community, we have, our neighbors and everyone out. It's just, being part of something makes you also feel good that other people are, are also going through maybe some of the trials and issues that you've faced as well. And they might have, the knowledge to help you out, or how you can pivot and make a better decision the next time. So
Yeah.
kind of invaluable as far as learning and just kind of being there. It's, one of those things that I think is important regardless of what type of community. It's there for you, and to help you
Right.
succeed.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that, yeah, it's not just about food business success, but it's like you're looking at all of your community circles. And I think if you're looking around, if you're listening, you're like, I don't really have a big community. Like that should be job number one, because we do fail, like we do succeed. I think we fail when we go alone, and we succeed, we go farther, faster when we have groups and we have community. And that's why when people come to me and say, I just want to get into Target or Whole Foods or whatever, it's like Costco or whatever it is, like, there are so many steps in between, and you're going to need so much help along the way.
Yeah.
And so, I always recommend starting small in your community, and then, those concentric rings that build out. But, yeah, I'm fortunate to live in Denver, where there are quite a number of food industry groups and networking organizations, but a lot of people don't have access to that. And so that's why, there's a lot of cities and places that don't have those kind of groups. So it's something that I'm really proud of building inside Food Business Success. And I love that you were like, hey, can we start a spreadsheet where we all have each other's contact info? And now like Frank, didn't Frank just call you one day?
No, and yeah, it's awesome. Like we literally talk to each other like about how things are going, or we order each other's products, or we want to try each other's products. And it's huge. Like I just found out there's a hot sauce collective in Indianapolis. I didn't know that. Like,
yeah,
it was
like
because
that's my new community.
It was because we were right. It was because we were at the farmer's market, and this couple came up. They owned a store, and we're going to do a pop-up with them in July. And he's like, oh, and by the way, like we have a group with the hot sauce collective. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So cool.
Yeah. So again, the community thing it's huge.
Yeah. I think you've also really led with generosity. Like I think and that's just who you are naturally, right? That you've just kind of embraced, or you lead with that generosity as a strategy. Yeah. Like, you didn't have a product for a while, right? But you were in the groups and you were like, hey, I want to buy your product. I want to try yours, and I want to support others, and leading, supporting, animal organizations and things like that. So I think you've definitely embraced, or you already had that. I don't think you added that. It just was who you were. But
yeah, again, a huge part of like, and you say about even kind of starting the packaged food business is, it is generosity, but it's also about like, exposing your product, giving your product, making sure, it's out there in front of people. So, but again, the generosity thing I think is huge, because you hope, you put that out in the ether and you get that in return. I think, and it makes, for me, especially being able to give back, whether it's charities or organizations or my friends sitting at the, dining room table. It's just a part of me, and it makes me feel great that I'm able to give that. And I think so many people are able. And I think, the more we do, then, the better communities we can build.
Yeah. So good. I love this conversation. Is there anything else you want to add or share with folks listening? This is so fun. I mean, we were talking in the very beginning, just like how surreal this is for you, and that, you found me in July. I started the podcast in that fall.
Oh my gosh.
I was doing YouTube before that. So You've been a long time listener,
Yeah.
and here we are almost to 100 podcasts later.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, now here you are on it.
It's and I think that initial when you're holding your product, like when you and I were at the co-packer and the first bottle came off the line, we're all like giddy and laughing. Oh, it's so cool. So it's just a continuation of the passion and the journey and the experiences. And I think just being able to have someone like yourself there, guiding and helping, and then again the community that it's part of. My piece of advice would be anyone who's interested in doing anything like this is to sit down and have a serious conversation with you or themselves if they're ready to embark
Get
on
realistic.
Right.
Don't just be pie in the sky. It's
Right.
going to be amazing.
Because
everybody's going to buy it.
I mean, I think that there was potential that I could have just said, okay, screw it, let's do this. And then I would have been so lost and not known where I was going. And the initial discussion that we had, and you're just like, I was just like, I'm not ready yet. I'm just like, but I think after listening to all the podcasts and YouTube and all this stuff, I was just like, but after our discussion, the honesty, the kind of like the brutal honesty of like what you're in for, but it made it so clear that at the next iteration of my life where I was, when I was ready to start this, then I knew that I was just like, I'll give Sarah a call back.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I think, it's huge. Like, it's not just, baking cookies and selling them on a table. it's
a real business.
Yeah,
and now we're in that, you're in that phase. We were just talking about the, like, well, first of all, I'll just say you got to celebrate all the little things, right? Because otherwise, like you would be so down and depressed, but like everything. And I think you guys do a good job of that. Like everything, just like, whoa, like we got here, and like, let's just pause and take a minute, celebrate that, because that's a big win. And then, life is 50-50, right? You're going to come off that television set and have an amazing thing. And then, you might get an email from the co-packer that says, something happened. Right. So like in the same day, you can have like the most amazing highs and lows, but we got to like purposefully celebrate the win and the good things, because that's what's going to help keep you going.
Yeah.
And have that strong why for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're in that space where now it's like, okay, we got to navigate the growth, because there is this kind of challenging middle where you're not quite at the scale you need to be like, where you're doing millions of bottles or, things like that, right. Hundreds of thousands of bottles, and getting that profit margin. And so, yeah, those margins, pennies are everything. And, how ultimately, obviously we want to be paying you a salary and all of that, but you are in that spot where the business is, we're working on getting the business paying for itself, but it's still a journey. And so I don't want people to come away thinking like, oh, he's got it all made.
Oh no.
I want to celebrate all the amazing things you have done, but like, let's be, part of that realistic self-talk is like, hey, just because you have an amazing launch and just because you're on store shelves and you're doing all these things, like the only way it's not going to work, Ryan, is if you give up.
Exactly.
I honestly believe that.
No, 100%.
There's still a journey ahead.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And, there's so many unknowns still, right? So it's learning, and that's part of the excitement. I mean, I've learned so much in the past year. It's been, and I love that. I just being able to consume all this knowledge and again, being able to be with people and talk with people. I think the time we had out in Vegas was absolutely amazing.
That was so fun.
That was incredible just to be able to be with people in the same space and different, time frames of where they're at and their launches and everything. So, so much to come. And I think just, staying with it, being involved, staying with the community that you've built, I don't see any of us being like not communicating or anything. I mean, we all do on social media, and it's fantastic. So lots to come. But it's your baby, right? Like, you should be proud of what you've raised and what you've done. And of course it's going to have challenges, but
you're in the toddler phase,
yes.
maybe, of the baby, right? Like it's saying no back to you a lot. You're like, come on.
Not the terrible twos, but we're close.
Yeah, right. But I love that.
Yeah.
Like, but we're always going to love our baby.
Yes.
Right? Throwing a tantrum.
Right. So, we'll just see how it grows, and you foster it just like you would, a relationship or anything else. You just want to make sure that you're doing the right thing to see it become successful.
Yeah. And I love that metaphor of a baby, in that, like, we would never expect a baby to be like giving us a salary by this point, right? Like, like, I think there's like that. We start it and then we're like, come on, business, why aren't you giving back to me yet? Like, no, you're still in the phase of like lots of care and lots of feeding and nurturing and giving, right? Like, your business is not ready at a place quite yet to give back to you. Sure. So thinking about it in that terms of like, it's a toddler, like it still needs a lot of a lot of love and care and attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. All right, Ryan, it has been so fun.
Yeah, likewise.
I have been just loving it. It's been a really fun journey.
Oh yeah.
And thank you for, trusting in me and taking me along on the journey. And I've really enjoyed all of it with you. I mean, there's been hard parts, of course. But yeah, and I'm so excited to watch your journey and for you to, So if you guys want to meet Ryan, he's often in the group and we call him the community bully. Like, he's like, where are you? Get inside here.
Join that call. Come on.
Come on. Like, this is a really important work. It's part of your job to build your community.
Oh my gosh,
stay connected. So, so good. Yes. Thank you, Ryan, for your time today and sharing your journey.
Well, thank you for everything, Sari. It's been awesome so far.
Are you ready to start that delicious idea that you make in your home kitchen, or grow your existing packaged food business and take it to the next level? The most successful food business entrepreneurs have support, guidance, focus, and accountability to help them make it happen quickly without wasting time or money. Plus, I think starting your packaged food business should actually be fun. Food business success is your secret ingredient to creating your food business dream. Please don't go this alone. Check out the private free Food Business Success Facebook group to connect with other foodpreneurs, get your questions answered quickly, share your wins, and receive special training and tools I only share inside the private community. Just search for Food Business Success on Facebook or get the link in the show notes. Curious about how Food Business Success can help you? Head over to foodbizsuccess.com and fill out the application to see if you're a great fit for the program. Together, let's make your food business dream a reality.